Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham, Bloomfield area, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network. That's 88.1 FM, the Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online in a few different places, on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com and on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com. That's MYMITV.com, where you can also learn more information about downloading their free apps for your smartphones and smart TVs. All that information is on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast page, where you'll also find all of our programs on demand as well. Then let's head over to our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, or clicking on our local news link at the top of the page on your computer web browser, or in the left drop-down menu on your mobile phone and other devices for the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 linked directly to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. So you have more information on everything you need to know about COVID-19, including the spread of the virus in your local area, precautionary tactics that you may need to employ depending on where you're at in the state of Michigan, including your hometown, places like your workplace, out in common areas of the community like a grocery store or a park, and also where you can find more information on getting vaccinated or receiving your booster shot or booster shots should you be in need and be eligible. Also on our news page at civiccentertv.com, you can find articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated not only on COVID-19, but also all of the other stories making headlines all throughout the Great Lakes state. Our top story today is from Mike Wilkinson of Bridge, Michigan. When you hear Mike Wilkinson's name on this program, you know what it is. It's their coronavirus tracker. As they say, weekly cases have fallen 4.2% to a total of 15,583. Those are the confirmed weekly cases, according to state officials, as of Wednesday. Beginning the first week of April, cases rose for 7 consecutive weeks, but then they have declined in each of the past 3. Last week, they fell a whopping 25%. The drop in cases mirrors one experienced across much of the nation as the latest surge begins to fade. But Michigan officials reported an additional 105 COVID-19 deaths, on Wednesday. That is up 33 from the previous week. Of those 94 were in May, 19 of those were in June, following a vital records review of medical and health records. 9 deaths previously were considered COVID-19 and were removed from the state's totals after that vital records review. The number of COVID-19 positive hospital patients once again fell on Wednesday to 939. That's down from 973, which was the number on Monday, and a recent peak of 1,168. That was marked on May 23rd. Over the past week, 13.4% of all COVID tests have come back positive, down from 14.6% in the previous week. And of course, all that information can be found in this article from Mike Wilkinson of Bridge, Michigan, and you can keep up with their coronavirus tracker by clicking on the link to this article on our website, civiccentertv.com/local-news, where you can also find our next headline from Alyssa Burr of MLive. Governor Whitmer has signed a law making unsafe left-hand turns a civil infraction. So don't turn left if you're not allowed to today. What was once an oversight in the Michigan Vehicle Code was finally written into state law by Governor Gretchen Whitmer last week. The passage of House Bill 5370, sponsored by Representative Scott Van Singel, a Republican from Grant, means causing a hazard on the roads by making a left-hand turn onto something other than an intersection is now a civil infraction. Van Singel said a conversation with a prosecutor in his district is what prompted the legislation. The prosecutor told him someone had protested a citation stemming from a left-hand turn they made into a driveway that caused an accident. The lawmaker said. The prosecutor said, technically there's nothing in the law that says that this is illegal. Basically, it was just a fix to the current traffic laws that we have. And if you made a left-hand turn into an intersection and cut somebody off, that's failure to yield, and you could be cited. But it ignored driveways for some reason. end close quote. Before it being signed into law by Governor Whitmer on June 2nd, the bill had bipartisan support as it made its way through the legislature, passing 93-10 in the House and unanimously 35-0 among those that voted in the Senate on this legislation. According to the bill's fiscal analysis, there is no way to determine the number of civil infractions that would occur under the new law, but the Michigan Vehicle Code requires defendants to pay a $40 justice system assessment per civil infraction. The revenue generated by the new bill would help support local libraries, while another portion of it is deposited into the state's Justice System Fund. Van Singel said the majority of Michiganders probably didn't know that there was such a loophole that existed in the law, so he doesn't expect the new law to impact anybody's day-to-day activities. Quote, "This is just closing a loophole in the law and giving law enforcement more tools to enforce common sense traffic laws," said Representative Van Singel. That article, including supporting materials linked in the article from MLive, is on our website, civiccentertv.com/local-news. You'll also find our final headline on today's edition of the program from Susan Tompor of the Detroit Free Press. Summer will be, quote, "the most expensive," end close quote, "ever as gas keeps climbing well above $5 per gallon. Pack up the credit cards, grab that hidden stash of cash, and get ready to spend big this summer, whatever's on your calendar, thanks to mind-bogglingly high gas prices well above $5 a gallon in the state. Quote, "It's going to be the most expensive summer we've ever seen," said Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at Gas Buddy. "A complex blend of a super tight supply, particularly in the Midwest, and ongoing strong demand that make forecasting of the prices very tough. If consumers suddenly stop spending, and that isn't happening yet," DeHaan said, "prices might fall back to a range of around $4.25 per gallon. But don't bet on it. Gas prices can go up even more." On Thursday morning, gas prices officially hit a national average of $5.05 of a gallon. Sorry, $5.05 of a dollar, not 5 cents. It's half a cent of a gallon for regular unleaded gas, according to data from Gas Buddy. Prices across the country are up by $1.90 a gallon from last year's average. The early Thursday Gas Buddy data had Michigan at an average of $5.218 per gallon. Don't round up to 5.22. Michigan drivers should be prepared to see gas prices stay high and possibly move toward $5.75 a gallon in the range of the next few weeks. DeHaan told the Detroit Free Press that in a phone interview on Wednesday of this week. A gallon of gas this summer is looking almost as pricey as a tall mocha cookie crumble frappuccino at Starbucks in Metro Detroit. What a comparison. Gas now $5.22 a gallon in this average is compared to a frappuccino at $5.57, which includes tax. Higher gas prices will only contribute to overall inflation. Surging diesel prices will drive up prices for groceries and other goods as well. Diesel, of course, in the shipping industry, huge on our supply chain. Trucks and transport that transport produce and goods largely run on diesel. Quote, "Those costs are certainly going higher, and some trucking firms add in surcharges to their prices that are tied to the price of diesel," said Omar Sharif, founder and president of Inflation Insights, located in Pasadena, California. He noted that FedEx has an automatic surcharge that fluctuates with the cost of diesel. So when diesel prices are higher, their surcharge is also higher. Quote, "Persistently higher gasoline prices can feed into other goods and services through higher transportation costs," end close quote. Sharif said, continuing on by saying, quote, "And those may become entrenched in the prices of goods and services that you purchase," end close quote. Summer prices are more than $1 a gallon higher than were expected. Surprisingly, we're days before the official start of summer, which is, of course, June 21st, and gas prices are averaging $5 and higher in 16 states, including Michigan, according to Gas Buddy. The average price of gas in Michigan is $5.216 per gallon on June 8th. In Ohio, that number is $5.075 per gallon, and the average in Indiana, $5.249 per gallon based on Gas Buddy's analysis. That's well above the national average, which as of June 8th, that would be yesterday, is $4.972 per gallon. Things weren't supposed to be turning out this way. However, back in early March, shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, gas prices So gas experts had forecast that the national average could hit $4 a gallon by mid-March. Gas prices had been climbing, but prices at some area stations were about $3.68 a gallon for credit card purchases or $3.58 a gallon for cash on March 1st. Consumers keep filling up but grumbling. Howard Hewley, a spokesperson for AAA Michigan, said gas stocks are down in the region, including in Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana. Lower supply, he said, combined with the increased demand and crude oil prices near $120 a barrel, drove gas prices at the pump to be almost double what they were at this time 1 year ago. The global oil markets are very much in flux as a result of Russia's unjust war in Ukraine. Oil prices surged the day after Memorial Day after leaders of the European Union reached an agreement to ban 90% of crude oil out of Russia by the end of this calendar year. Gas prices in the Great Lakes region spiked in the last week, DeHaan said, because the area continues to get worse data about inventories declining. Refineries have to run at 100% around back to their levels in 3 cases in 2019 to make any headway, he said. They're currently around 94% utilization in the Midwest region of the U.S. Quote, Americans continue to fill up at a pretty amazing pace, end closed quote, said DeHaan. So here's the big question. Are we close to hitting $6 per gallon? It's possible under unique circumstances, said DeHaan, such as a refinery disruption in the region or a major hurricane if there's a thunderstorm that cuts power to a refinery. Quote, and those are unpredictable. That's like predicting when your car is going to break down. You just don't know. Is $6 a gallon possible? Yes, but I think it's going to take a jolt, end closed quote. That full article, more supporting materials from our friends at the Detroit Free Press, as well as all of our articles from today's program and this week's programs listed on our website, civiccentertv.com. Click on the local news link, and you'll find those ever-helpful links to accurate information on COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this, not Monday, not Tuesday, not Wednesday, but Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Dave and Reggie Berger, and then at the bottom of the hour, Ronnie Hormel from the Birmingham Maple Clinic will join us. That's all up next on the Oakland County Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now on the program are a father and son pair, Dave and Reggie, whose success story with the Rose Hill Center is the reason we were able to have this interview today. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining the program.
Thank you, Tyler.
Appreciate having the both of you on. So, Dave, can you talk about how this journey began in yours and Reggie's battle with mental illness? Reggie's battle with mental illness, and now how you as his father and him as your son both came to what ended up happening to get him treated for his mental illness.
Well, thanks, first of all, for having us. Reggie's situation started when he was a freshman at Michigan and studying engineering in 1998. And after his second semester, while on a job training, I should say, I believe, Reg, you interject correct me if I got this wrong, Reg, but he had his initial episode at age 19, 20 maybe, and 19, was it, Reg?
Yeah.
And this initial episode, and we got a call at 4 in the morning that from Nashville, Tennessee. Is that where it was, Reg? Nashville, I think.
Yep, that's where I was being trained to work for my new job. Yeah.
And it was a summer job, if I recall, but that he had an incident, was in the hospital. So I immediately caught a flight that early the next morning, or that same morning, about 2 hours later, arrived down there around 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning, and got him to the hospital, and met him at the hospital and met with the doctors and discovered that he had a psychotic episode, and that's about all they knew at the time. And we stayed here a couple of days, had the doctors treat him, gave him some medication to balance things, and to the point where a couple of days later we were able to drive back to Michigan, where we had him contact a local psychiatrist that we've been referred to by our doctor. And then the process started from that point on, and some 20-some years later, we're in a much better state, right, Reg?
Absolutely.
And so, Reggie, for you, do you have any recollection of that time and that moment in your life? Because as your father had described it, it seems like this was the first of any kind of an episode of this kind that you had ever had. So do you have any recollection of that moment?
Yeah, it was a pretty scary moment. I pretty much had like a lot of racing thoughts, and it was hard for me to control my mind at the time. And so I ended up in the hospital and very confused at the time, and was trying to just do the best I could. And so I stayed a couple nights at this psychiatric hospital down in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was there a couple nights, and they sent me back up to Michigan with Dad. But they put me on some medications and everything like that. And like Dad said, I had to see a psychiatrist. And from there on, it was a slow process, but thankfully for Rose Hill Center, I was able to get back on track. It took a long time, but I'm here today, and I do remember the incident very well, pretty much every detail of it. But yeah, it was a difficult situation.
So we've had the Rose Hill Center, we've had a couple of officials at different times on this program before, so we have an extensive catalog of information on the services that are provided there for those of you in the audience that would like to learn more about this organization and the help that it provides to those seeking mental health treatment of a variety of different forms by going to our website. That's civiccentertv.com/megacast. Just search for Rose Hill Center. But Reggie, in your case, can you give us a walkthrough of what it was like to go to the Rose Hill Center for that treatment and how that specialized treatment that they had provided to you for your situation and your mental health has helped you in your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, it helped absolutely amazingly. Like I said, it was a slow process, but I was there as a resident, and they slowly got me on different medications and trying to find a good concoction of medicines that would work together to benefit my mental health. So I stayed in the residence there for about, I forget how long I was there, maybe over a year maybe. But it was a struggle, but I got through it, and I made some friends in the process there at Rose Hill, because a lot of the other people were in the same boat that I was in. But I will be honest, I didn't want to be there at first. I didn't even want to be on my medication. I didn't want to be at Rose Hill, but looking back on it, Rose Hill was the place that pretty much saved my life.
And looking back on it too, Was it hard for you, and you've kind of discussed this already, for you just as you were in that moment and the life that you had lived up until that point, to come to terms with the fact that you had a mental health condition that you couldn't control and you needed help to get control with? Was that hard for you?
Yes, it was. I mean, I had to ask for help, and I knew I wanted to see if I could figure it out on my own, but there was no way. I needed the help of the professionals, and so I needed the help of my nurses and the caregivers there at Rose Hill, as well as the psychiatrist. So there's no possible way I could have done this all on my own.
We're joined by Reggie and Dave. They are a son and a father pair joining us on the Megacast. Reggie had previously undergone treatment for mental illness at the Rose Hill Center, which is a mental health facility providing specialized mental health care to a variety of patients. You can find more information on them by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast and just searching on our on-demand page for Rose Hill Center. We have a couple of interviews that are pretty extensive, going over the services that they provide and how you can get access to those services. But as we talk about access, let's take a step back. And Dave, for you at the initial point of Reggie's diagnosis, or after the initial episode, and as you and Reggie are seeking treatment for him, can you talk about how insurance coverage at that time, and even as it may translate to now, how the limitations in that coverage affected initially getting Reggie the help that he needed with this new normal in his life, given that diagnosis?
Well, indeed, insurance was a challenge. At the time, right now I'm retired and I'm on Medicare, but before that, Reggie was still under age 26, so he was under my insurance with my employer. And it was Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And the hospitalization was covered, except for some co-pays and things like that for the most part. But after the hospitalization, and Reggie returned to a hospital here in Michigan as well after the Nashville stint for a week or two, while his doctor was able to treat him there in the hospital. But after the hospital stay of 10 days, I believe, the insurance basically dropped off. And he came home, and there was no need for insurance at that point in time, but they did cover his psychiatric treatments and his medication. But then when we eventually discovered Rose Hill and he started residing there, that's when the insurance issues surfaced. That was about even before he turned 26, when he dropped off my insurance. They wouldn't cover those sort of residential treatment situations. The transition between living in the community and leaving a hospital, that gap in there was very difficult, and they would not cover that. And obviously we fortunately had the financial resources to be able to manage it, but not without stress, of course. But it was definitely worth it, no doubt about that. We'd do it all over again if we had to, but the insurance was a problem indeed.
And luckily, and thankfully nowadays, insurance companies seem to be somewhat, at least, more perceptive of the necessity of mental health care in a full health care plan and in full health care coverage. But certainly, even just in the last few years, that was not the case. And so that can cause, as you said, great stresses on the family, most primarily because you want your loved one to get the treatment that they need. They have a mental illness that's like any other illness. If you don't treat it, it can only do more harm. But at the same time, it still puts financial stress on families too. But just in general, the stress. Talk about the stresses of managing your son's healthcare coverage as a parent, and as a very concerned parent at that time, given that situation and the lack thereof of proper coverage, generally speaking, throughout every insurance, including yours, for mental health care. What kind of toll did that take on your entire family?
Well, it was obviously stressful. However, I always like to do something about a problem like this. So one of the things that I was able to do was join the board at the invitation of the founders, Dan and Rosemary Kelly, join the Rose Hill board, where we could start working on some of these problem areas, working with the insurance companies and so forth. And I wouldn't say it's 100% successful, but things have improved. And we also established a financial aid process. And we encouraged, we also expanded our donor base so that we can get contributions from donors that can be applied to financial aid for those that cannot afford the full cost of the residential treatment system at Rose Hill. So that is, and I think there's a relatively large percentage of residents now that do get financial aid, and thanks to the endowment that they've created from that campaign. Insurance is a little still of a challenge, though, and there's work that has to be done in that regard, and it's the coverage is limited to maybe 30 days to maybe 3 months at most, not a year like it took Reggie, so you still are oppressed financially.
We're joined by Dave and Reggie, a father-son pair, who are speaking about the treatment that Reggie had received from the Rose Hill Center, which is located in Holly, Michigan. More information can be found about the Rose Hill Center. It is a mental health treatment facility. Can be found on their website, rosehillcenter.org. That's rosehillcenter.org for more information. So Reggie, after undergoing your treatment at the Rose Hill Center and creating what is that new normal for you in your life and as you're living with your mental health condition, what's your status now? How have you been feeling in the years since your exit from the Rose Hill Center, and how has the treatment that you underwent there and what you learned under that treatment in terms of managing your mental illness, how has that ultimately brought you to your situation today, and how are you feeling?
Well, today I feel probably 90% better. Obviously, I'm not 100% because there's no cure for this as of now, but I am on the right medications, and I'm very diligent about taking my medication every day. I take quite a few different types of medicines, but I take them in the morning and then throughout the day and at night as well. So it's a daily thing for me, to kind of a routine for me to do now. But thankfully, the medicine has improved, and also I've been seeing a therapist, and also my psychiatrist. So we're all working together, and I also have some very, very close friends that I've made at Rose Hill, and we support each other as well, and I'd also like to say thanks to my mom and dad, because they've always had my back, and they did whatever they could to make my situation more positive.
Reggie, do you have any advice for others that may undergo mental health treatment or go through mental health treatment programs, even if it's just as simple as seeking the counseling of a therapist or another professional, and advice for what they should be ready for, should prepare for, or just in maintaining those programs and working with those programs to get the treatment that they need?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is just to stay on your medication. I'll be honest, at first when they put me on medicine, I did not want to be on that medicine. I guess I was just trying to cope with my illness at the time. It was very difficult and confusing for me. But over time, I began to learn better, and I knew a lot of people were rooting for me, especially my friends and family. So my advice would just to stay on your medication and listen to the psychiatrist, and try and just do your best and don't give up, and things will get better over time. Yeah.
And then Dave, for you, do you have any advice for parents out there whose children may be going through some mental health issues? They may suspect that their kid has some mental health issues, or may be formally diagnosed. Any advice for parents and families as they help their children undergo this time in their life?
Well, obviously, get medical help, and don't be afraid to try different medications, because there were probably a dozen or more that Reggie tried before he got under the system he's on now. His diagnosis was schizoaffective disorder, and the last medication he tried was the one that worked the best. It was called Clozaril, and it was the last one we tried because it required a monthly blood test, because it has some side effects on 5% of the takers. Fortunately, Reggie's never had a problem. But that medication was the secret for Reggie's situation. Not everyone, obviously, but he had, with his diagnosis, was a good one. And so just keep trying different things. And the psychoeducation is important too, through a therapist, where you're educated on the basics on not only just taking medications, but also coping factors. Reggie is amazing at how he deals with various circumstances, that the stress that comes up, and avoiding stress would be another big one that he does. Reggie works about 30 hours a week in the home health care business, and we're very proud of the fact that he's there, and he got his degree as well. But it took some time, and as he got through this process, and we're very proud of him, and what he's gone through was 10 times more stressful and challenging than I ever went through in my career, and it was just in the business world. So we admire him for his fortitude and strength, and we love him to death, obviously.
Reggie, we're glad you're well. We thank you for joining us and telling us your story, and Dave, yours as well. We appreciate both of you for coming on today.
Thank you, Tyler.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. More information on the Rose Hill Center, where Reggie did receive his treatment, can be found on rosehillcenter.org. Of course, if you are in need of mental health care, please seek that care from your by talking to your primary care provider or to your insurance company, or both, and figuring out what will be the best treatment for you and what would be the best means for you to seek that treatment. Remember, there are resources at the county level as well. If you do not have the financial means or don't have the insurance means, or both, to seek that mental health care, you may still have the ability to do so, to seek that mental health care without it, of course, breaking the bank in your case and affecting your life on the financial side as well. There are resources in Oakland County, certainly, and in counties all throughout the state of Michigan. Of course, go to your local county government website for more information, or call them, and there are resources in our communities. We're going to take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, more great interviews and interesting conversations with a number of people all throughout Oakland County and across the state. That's coming up next on the Megacast.
Connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/ACP, or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org. Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on a Megacast link. We'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. As we begin our slow emergence from the heights of the pandemic, there is a lot of pressure put on people to get back to normal. For some, it's not as easy as flipping the switch and maybe doing them more harm than good, rushing back into what is known as their regular life. Joining us now to talk about that and more is psychotherapist Ronnie Hormel from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, with us now on the Oakland County Megacast. Ronnie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here this morning. And it's funny, I was just listening to your previous guest, and we are direct.
Very interesting. Your new neighbors are very... Just for clarification, we had talked to Ronnie Hormel previously on the Megacast. This is a previous interview. His reference to that previous guest was a guest that was a neighbor of his. It is not, in fact, Dave and Reggie, who we had on previously. Just want to give that clarification there before we continue on. Now let's go back and rejoin in progress this interview we had with Ronnie Hormel previously on the Megacast.
Panic, certain depression, like play therapy as far as kids, addictions. So I really feel lucky, as well as we have psychiatrists that work with us for patients that also might need medication management. So I feel really lucky because I work at a cool place, which is super diverse, and a lot of us have our different interests and niches.
And so for you as a psychotherapist, having met with patients and had a variety of different conversations on your patients' mental health and on outside factors impacting their life during the COVID-19 pandemic, and then from other clinical information as well, we've seen and heard so much over the course of the pandemic about the rise in alcohol use and in alcohol abuse and the ways that that's impacting people's overall health, including their mental health. We've seen that increase happen. What are some of the factors that have led into that increase over the course of the pandemic?
So there's a few. I feel like the biggest one probably that I've seen, but I do talk a lot to my colleagues about it, is a lot of anxiety. And it's the uncertainness, and, it's coming from so many different areas. So the pandemic was kind of unique in that it brought a lot of different stressors all at the same time that are pretty high up their stressors. So like, let's say you have a chronic illness, or a family member or a loved one does. This pandemic's happening. You're worried about their health. You may be worried about your job. You may be worried about your kids' schooling. So all of these little things that can pop up that can be pretty high in the Richter scale of stressors for a lot of people might have been happening all at once. And there's another thing that a lot of people really didn't factor when it came to the use of drinking, which can be related to anxiety as well, is boredom. Right? People were bored, just not driving, maybe staying home more, and just like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm bored. What am I going to do? I'm going to watch a movie and maybe have a couple cocktails, have a couple glasses of wine.
And so with the variety of different reasons that have factored into this increased use of alcohol and increased abuse of alcohol seen in patients over the course of the pandemic, how do you as mental health professional and others that are your colleagues at the Birmingham Maple Clinic and others in the profession as well, then go about treating that or addressing that issue and trying to bring some sense of normalcy back to the overall mental health landscape, and on top of that, address this issue before it becomes its own major problem across the board in our society and in our community?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, there's a thing called gray area drinking, which is where you're not necessarily rock bottom alcoholic. You're not having major losses, right? Whether it be due to missing things, getting fired from jobs, missing appointments, but you're also not just a very casual drinker. So some of the warning signs are you maybe feel a little bit concerned about your drinking, right? Like you may be a little bit like, am I doing this more than I did before? And you're drinking to deal with emotions. So one of the things I'm just going to kind of touch on both of your questions right there is really dealing with your central nervous system, really taking care of it. So right now the weather's getting nice. It would be get outside, spend time in nature, spend time with people you love. Touch is a big one. Hug your friends more, hug your family more, hug a pet. I know this sounds weird, but this actually does release dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine in our brain, which are all very feel-good hormones. do you find yourself looking forward to that happy hour drink more, or that evening drink? That can be a warning sign. And is alcohol really integrated into a part of your life? Like, you just can't even imagine going out to drink with friends or having a Taco Tuesday without a margarita. Like, that would just sound like clear madness to you. So it's a little bit of being aware of those things and just working on your central nervous system, because what I hear as a professional when I hear the questions that I was just reading off my notes is I hear that you're struggling with self-regulation a little bit. So, I'm sorry, what?
No, please continue on.
Yeah, so, one of the things this new woman talked about, she coined a term, conscious sobriety, which is where you're not necessarily white knuckle being sober, right? You're just kind of paying attention to your drinking. So you might be thinking, okay, wait, why do I want to have a drink now? And you might occasionally have a drink, but you're kind of putting support systems in, like, oh, wait, interesting. How did my day go today? My day was a little bit more stressful. Interesting that I'm kind of wanting to pour a big glass of wine right now. Maybe I go for a walk first and see how I feel. So in being conscious about it, you're not necessarily like, no more drinking, because you might be in that weird gray area. But the healthy point here is that you're taking care of your central nervous system and your emotions, and really identifying, why am I wanting that drink? And then maybe noticing, okay, if I'm cutting out a little bit less because I had just one glass of wine instead of 2 to 3 because I just went on a walk. Also paying attention to how you're feeling the next day, how your work's doing, how your moods are. So just, kind of, that's what we call mindfulness, which can be a little bit of the gluten-free in psychotherapy now. The word's thrown out a lot. That's what it is.
And so if you are employing these strategies, if you're asking these questions, if you are noticing that you are in a situation where you're craving a drink, you're not quite sure why, and you're trying to push yourself away from those behaviors, and especially if they're becoming habitual, how helpful can it be to then consult with a professional if those strategies aren't working for yourself, to have somebody else there to help you through those, especially someone that has a professional and a clinical background in these kinds of situations?
It's really important because they can really help with something that we call psychoeducation. So they will really help just really explain a lot to you, and you can leave. I mean, even in an area where I don't specialize in, anytime I have some psychoeducation in a training, I kind of walk away thinking, wow, I'm really conceptualizing that different. So it can really help you understand where your patterns are, how to be more mindful. Is it a problem? And even if it's a gray area where a therapist might be like, okay, so this isn't, you're not at rock bottom, but let's make sure you don't get there, and kind of help you implement. So it's really important to work with a specialist there to kind of bring all that psychoeducation, because that kind of clicks in with the self-awareness, kind of twofold. And so then you're able to feel supported. And then, it feels good when you're doing the work outside of the sessions. You're catching yourself, be like, wait a minute, why am I having a third glass? Like, this is what I talked about last week in therapy. And then, you get that self-reinforcement of growth. Your insight's increasing. You're kind of more aware of, like, wait, why am I talking faster? Well, my blood pressure's a little up. Oh, I might be a little stressed right now.
We're joined by psychotherapist Ronnie Hormel from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on the Birmingham Maple Clinic at birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com for more information. You can give them a call as well at 248-646-6659. That's 248-646-6659 for more information, or visit their website, birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com. And so often we see, especially in creative media, but also in actual life, that friends or family or colleagues, whoever it may be that may be in someone's life and cares for them, may notice that someone is developing a drinking problem or has a drinking problem and will stage an intervention. What are your thoughts on the intervention as an intermediary method to address someone's drinking problem? Are they effective? Are they more likely to backfire? Is there some sort of medium there?
So there's a medium. I would definitely explore working with a substance abuse specialist if you are doing an intervention, because usually, especially if there is a problem, right? Like we're kind of crossing from gray area to pretty serious. The person is going to be embarrassed, and they're going to hold on to that addiction. And so there might be a lot of gaslighting, a lot of shaming. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I need to drink to be around you. Have you turned on the news? So it needs to be done very delicately. It can be fantastic when it's done with the right therapist that really feels like, supportive and can kind of help reframe, like, no, this person, what I'm hearing is they love you so much. You're one of the most important people in their life, and they're concerned. So it can be very delicate. Yeah.
We're joined by Ronnie Hormel, psychotherapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Megacast. More information on their website, birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com. And so as we continue on in the pandemic, it's a different phase now. Things are starting to seem a little bit more normal, as much as they continue to go back and forth with one surge versus another,
right.
A slight increase versus another. The uncertainty is still there, but the normalcy more than ever before in these last few years is also there. And that creates a pressure situation for so many people, where they are either through their own expectations, just by seeing others out and about, and that fear of missing out, or FOMO, or by direct pressure from loved ones or friends or other people to get back out there and have more normal behaviors and activities. That can have a big toll on people too, and that can lead them to issues such as increased drinking or even other issues as well. So what is your advice for people who are looking to get back out there, who are seeing these changes happen, to go back at their own pace, as well as advice for those that may be poking and prodding at people to get them back out with them, as to not pressure these individuals into something that could really take a toll on them if they're not ready?
Yeah, so I always say, really pay attention, be the expert of yourself. We're all the experts of ourselves, but give ourselves permission to be the expert of ourselves and what we need. So, me and you may have different needs, and allow those also to shift. So your boundaries may be right now, you feel like, you know what, I'm safe wherever I'm at, whether you're vaccinated or not. I feel comfortable going out doing things. This is my safety level this weekend for the holiday weekend. For whatever reason, next weekend, you may feel fatigued, overwhelmed, hopefully numbers aren't going up, but something like that, and allow your boundaries to shift. And you're like, you know what, right now, this is not for me. I'm not going to be drinking, or I'm not going to be going out, and that's okay. Because there can be exactly what you said, the FOMO, or feeling like I need to do everything right now. Like this needs to be the summer of yes, I'm invited, I'm going. That's not always the best idea, because then we're not listening to ourselves and our boundaries and finding out. So my best advice would be, listen to yourself, be the expert on what you need, and also be flexible with that, because it's going to change.
We're joined by Ronnie Hormel, psychotherapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Megacast. More information on their website, birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com. You can also get more information by calling them at 248-646-6659. That's 248-646-6659 for more information. And Ronnie, there's so many other things that we could be talking about, and so many other issues across the board that are becoming more prevalent or have been more prevalent over the course of the pandemic. Is there anything that we haven't touched on at this moment in time that would be important for our audience to keep in consideration, either as they're evaluating their own mental health and their own potential needs for intervention, or just a discussion with a professional, or any other mental health topics that haven't been discussed yet?
Yeah. So this is kind of going to be an umbrella over a lot of stuff, but I think it applies to often is our brains are working normally right now by dealing with waves of stress between, the pandemic, inflation, Ukraine stuff. Now, we've unfortunately had a couple shootings in the past several weeks. So people coming in feeling agitated, insomnia, anxious, worried about, their kids, themselves, loved ones, that is normal. That is our brain working normal. It's highly uncomfortable, but, you can feel reinforced, like, oh, right, these are things that I should be concerned about. I'm not a sociopath. Okay. So this is your brain working normal, and you can use that to ease yourself. if it feels like it's becoming overwhelming, where you're struggling then with functioning, you're really catching yourself struggling with going to sleep, staying asleep, frequent tearfulness, crying, panic attacks, or almost avoiding things like you're glad if things get canceled because you'd want to stay home. Those are the signs when your functioning shifts to reach out to a professional. A good way is to talk to your primary care physician. If you're looking for some extra support, a therapist. Our clinic is great, birminghammaple.com, as well as you can even go to your insurance company and find clinicians that are in the area that are paneled with your insurance if costs are a concern, and they can often give you a list with names and numbers. So those are probably the easiest ways.
Ronnie, we thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time and your insight on these issues of mental health and the ways that the pandemic has impacted that. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, we'll kick off the Michigan Megacast on your radio homes for the program. 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, talking traffic and construction with Craig Bryson from the Road Commission for Oakland County. That's up next on the Megacast.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/Megacast or by visiting our My Michigan TV website at mymytv.com. Joining us now on the program is the Senior Communications Manager with the Road Commission for Oakland County. Craig Bryson joins us once again on the Megacast. Craig, thank you for being with us today.
Good to be with you, Tyler.
And good having you on as well. So let's begin by talking about some of the construction projects in Oakland County. We'll begin with Orchard Lake Road between 13 and 14 Mile. I happened to be driving out that way a couple days ago, took the highway home, and it seems like that is coming along pretty quickly. Can you give us an update on that construction project?
It is. It's on schedule. It's really going very well. We've got some of the concrete done on the northbound lanes on the north half of the project. Right now, if you're familiar with that, the southbound side, the western lanes are open to southbound traffic. The northbound side is closed where we're working. We have the concrete curbs poured for the roundabout, which is kind of in the just north of the center of that section. And next week we'll be doing the asphalt paving of the southern section from the roundabout down to 13 Mile, and it's going very well. They're making good progress for a $13 million road construction project.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County. And previously, when we've had you on, we've talked about at that point, the discussions on potential plans for Orchard Lake Road between Middle Belt and Old Telegraph, affecting parts of West Bloomfield, Keiko Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and beyond. What exactly will be done with that section of roadway? Is there a plan that is definitively in place, and when will that begin?
It's in place, it's bid, it's happening. It's going to start actually in a couple of weeks on June 20th. So that project is going ahead. It's mainly a resurfacing project, but there's a section of that portion of the road that has 4 lanes, 2 lanes on either side. We're going to widen that section to 5 lanes with a continuous center left turn lane as there are on each ends of the segment. That's a much safer format. The road will remain open. 1 lane in each direction will remain open throughout the project. Do a few other changes too, improving the pedestrian crosswalks, improving the traffic signals, removing the center island at Pontiac Street. So that's a good project, and it's coming up soon.
And then other places in Oakland County, closer to my area of Oakland County, in the Novi-Wixom area, there's some lane closures on Grand River Avenue. I've experienced that. Been out there a few times very recently, and been right there with those lane closures. Can you talk about those? Why are those going on? How long can drivers in the Novi and Wixom area expect those lane closures to affect their commutes and their drive around town?
Yeah, we've received a number of questions about those. That's concrete slab replacement work, where we're taking out the greatly deteriorated slabs of concrete, not redoing the whole road, but just the bad concrete slabs and replacing them. A lot of people asking why we're doing that at the same time MDOT is working on I-96. And the answer is we didn't have the money to do it last year. We got some funding to do it this year, so we're doing it this year. The I-96 project is a 3-year-long project. So if we didn't do it this year and we didn't want to do it at the same time as the MDOT project, we have to wait another 3 years, and those concrete slabs would not last that long. Additionally, we wanted to get it done as early in the I-96 work as possible, because that's obviously an alternative route to I-96. They're making good progress there. We've got about another month or so. They should be done about mid-July on that. The last couple of weeks were a little bit tougher than normal because we had to take up 2 lanes in some places. They're replacing the slabs in 1 lane at a time, but when they're pouring the concrete truck has to come into the next lane over, so they have to close 2 lanes. Once the concrete is poured, they just have to block off the lane where the new concrete is and let it cure. It takes about a week for it to cure, so there'll be times when you see no work going on, but the lane is still closed. That's because the concrete is still curing. So again, making good progress there. Another month or so, and we'll be out of there.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on road projects throughout Oakland County by visiting their website at rcocweb.org. That's rcocweb.org for more information on construction projects in Oakland County and other information from the Road Commission for Oakland County. Other projects include resurfacing also going on Maple Road between Coolidge and DeQuinder, and then maybe road closures are also happening parts of Independence Township Road improvement millage projects as well. Can you talk about those and the County Road Commission's involvement in those projects?
Yeah, the Maple Road project was originally only scheduled to go to Rochester Road. And actually right now we're kind of waiting to absolutely confirm that it'll go to DeQuinder. We'd like it to go to DeQuinder. We've got some additional funding to extend it. The question is whether or not the contractor who is already contracted to do the project can facilitate doing the expanded project. So that remains to be seen. But that's a major resurfacing project as well. The Maybe Road projects, we're doing about 4.5 miles of resurfacing of Maybe Road in Independence Township. Right now, the section from Clintonville east to the to the township line is closed and being resurfaced. The section from Clintonville west to Dixie Highway will start on June 13th. That is not going to be a closure, but because it's a 2-lane road, or parts of it are 2-lane road, there'll be lane closures and there will be delays there. But again, once we get done with all of that, there'll be 4.5 miles of brand new pavement all across Maybe Road in most of Independence Township. And that, by the way, is largely due to courtesy of the Independence Township road millage that the voters supported there. So great use of local road funding.
So a couple more places in the area around our studio here at our flagship on the Megacast network at Civic Center TV. Places that I'm frequently around on a daily basis all throughout the week include Pontiac Trail by Haggerty and Green Lake Road. Pontiac Trail's been undergoing construction. It's been several weeks now, especially right around Haggerty. I've noticed that one lane is closed and the other lane is open only to local traffic, not to through traffic. So what's going on there? What's the status of Pontiac Trail, and how much further does that project have to be before drivers can expect to have Pontiac Trail fully reopened?
That's also a major resurfacing project between Haggerty and Green Lake, as you mentioned. That's a fall completion date. That is proceeding well. The next big step in that people will notice is we're going to have to close the intersection of Green Lake and Pontiac Trail. So right now, Green Lake is opened north of Pontiac Trail because we're going to resurface the intersection and extend the Green Lake southbound right turn lane a bit. That intersection itself will have to be closed for about a month. We're expecting that to start around June 20th. Right now, we're trying to work out, make sure we can ensure access to the senior living facility that's on the south side of Pontiac Trail right at that intersection, but tentatively planning to close the intersection June 20th for about a month. Then the whole thing will be done later in the fall. Again, real nice section of brand new pavement there. We're extending some turn lanes on Pontiac Trail as well, extending the merge lane for eastbound Pontiac Trail right at Haggerty where you turn onto Pontiac Trail. So some safety improvements there as well.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County with us on the Megacast. More information on rcocweb.org. Follow along with all of these construction projects through the county at rcocweb.com. Lastly, in the greater West Bloomfield area, Walnut Lake Road between Haggerty and Halstead. Now, that is a dirt road. There's been some discussions about road improvements over there. Is that road going to end up being paved, or are there other improvements to the dirt road that are going to be made?
At this point, it is not scheduled to be paved. That may be something that happens in the future. There are discussions, but that's a longer-term discussion. Right now, we're just doing a couple days worth of gravel road stabilization. That'll happen over the weekend. We wanted to do it on the weekend when there's not the daily commuting traffic there, but we'll go in, close the road for 2 days, stabilize the road, and then open it back up.
More information, again, rcocweb.org for more info from the Road Commission for Oakland County. And it recently issued a press release that had statistics showing the number of fatalities on the roads in Oakland County have gone down, which bucks a national trend where the opposite, of course, is occurring. What do you see as some of the pivotal reasons that Oakland County roads have been statistically safer than the national average as of late?
Great question, and that's been the case, by the way, for decades now. Mm-hmm. It was not always the case, and back in the 60s and early 70s, it was just the opposite. But starting at that point, this agency made a very specific commitment to focus everything on safety. So everything we do is now guided by safety. Project selection, project design, maintenance operations, everything we do is guided first and foremost by the consideration of safety to the roads. So we do extensive traffic crash analysis to find out where the crashes are on roads in Oakland County, what's causing them, is it road related, is it driver error, what is the issue? If it's road related, what can we do to fix the problem? And those types of issues rise to the top of our project list every year. We do a very detailed analysis every single year of our intersections and all of our road segments to see where the problems are and what we can do. And the addition of things like roundabouts as well have greatly reduced serious injury crashes. So all those things, we were a leader in a number of other things like traffic sign reflectivity, LED traffic signals, so the light bulbs and traffic signals don't burn out nearly as frequently as they used to. Lots of different things that go into making the roads safe, and all that has caused the roads in Oakland County to go from being, far less safe than the statewide average or the national average to twice as safe as the statewide and national average. If our road fatality rate on just the road commission's roads in Oakland County was the same as the statewide average today, we'd have about 26 more people die on our roads every year. And it's really gratifying for us to see those numbers come way down and stay way down. Every year, Oakland County has among the lowest fatality rates of any county in the state, often the number one lowest fatality rates, but at least one or two almost every single year.
We're joined by Craig Bryson, Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the Road Commission from rcocweb.org. That's rcocweb.org to keep up to date on all of their ongoing and future construction projects and find more information. So as we talk about all these construction projects, we talk about, of course, road safety in Oakland County. We should also speak about safe driving, particularly in these construction zones. Craig, on this note, any advice to our audience or reminders about driving safely in these construction zones and how that safe driving ultimately affects the quality of this construction and, of course, the efficiency?
Absolutely. That's a huge issue for us. Obviously, we want all of our employees and all of our contractors' employees to go home to their families every night. Every year we hear about it somewhere in Michigan, a road construction worker is hit. So number one, we exceed almost all the safety requirements as far as work zones, setting up work zones with coning off the areas where the workers are, acceleration, deceleration lanes, merging lanes, traffic signs, warnings, that kind of thing. But ultimately, it comes down to the motorists, and we plead with everybody to please slow down in construction zones, especially where there's workers present. Watch all the speed limit signs, obey those construction speed zones, take your time, slow down, pay attention to where the people are, stay off your phones. A few moments looking down at your phone to check a text could mean the difference between somebody's life and death who's working along the road. So we just ask people to please be aware of that and take your time and be very aware of your surroundings while you're in a construction zone.
So as you're entering those construction zones, lanes are being cut off. People are going to need to merge from one lane that's closed into the singular lane in some cases, or one of the other lanes in some cases that are open. Does the RCOC suggest utilizing the zipper method in doing so? And in that case, what are your thoughts on those that then get frustrated with that kind of merging and block off that zipper switch lane?
We don't actually recommend one particular form of merging versus another. I know some other entities do, and there's been a lot of research. There's also some conflicting research on whether that is actually best or not. That tends to be promoted a lot of times for freeway ramps, for example. Those are a little bit different environment than our construction zones. The bottom line is, law requires that people merge safely, whether it's the zipper format or whether they merge at the last minute but do it safely. Part of the point is that you've got two lanes right up until the lane ends and it merges in, and traffic can move most efficiently when both those lanes are being used. So we just encourage people to use caution, you drive safely, yield to others where you can, and don't be an overly aggressive driver.
Craig, any other information that we haven't discussed today that would be important for our audience to know in terms of construction projects, safety issues in Oakland County on our roads?
We've covered a lot. The only other thing I would add is that anyone who wants to keep updated on our projects can go to our website and subscribe to our alerts, where you can enter your email or your phone number and receive either texts or emails anytime we put out a notice about one of our projects. It's a great way to stay actively aware of what's going on the roads in Oakland County.
And that website, rcocweb.org. Craig, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tyler. Great to be here.
Great to have you with us. Appreciate your time. We're going to take a break on the Megacast. When we return, we'll be exploring a special kind of woodworking. That's up next on the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Whether you're the city, the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more information by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on a Megacast link where you'll find more info on all of our partnering stations and find our full programs on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/Megacast is the website. Joining us now is Anna Bailey, one of the co-owners of Bailey Builds, who will be one of thousands of artists joining the Ann Arbor Art Fair July 21st through 23rd on 30 blocks of downtown Ann Arbor. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure.
A pleasure to have you with us too. So it's really interesting looking at your website, looking at some of your pieces. You do of course wood art, and your company is known as Bailey Builds. And so a lot of these different pieces are kind of malleable and buildable, and they come together into a full piece, but can also be in their individual pieces within that larger piece, be individual art as well. So tell us about your art journey. What led you to wood art, and specifically the kind of wood art that you're producing at this time?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. It's a really funny story, actually. I wanted patio chairs from Home Depot, and I didn't want to pay Home Depot for them. This was like 7 years ago. And so it's like, I'm equipped to make my own. So I started making a lot of furniture. And the furniture that I was making left a lot of scrap wood on the ground. And I thought, I don't want this to go to waste. And so I started to make wood art from the scrap wood from all the furniture that I was building. So like I said, that was about 7 years ago. And I had just quit my job. And I thought, let's try to make this side hustle go. And so I started selling my artwork online and at some art fairs, and it took off. And I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to make art for a living to support my family. And my husband actually was able to quit his job after about 2 years of me making artwork, because it was either like, I need to scale back or I need help. And so now we do this together. Our last name is Bailey. So baileybuilds.com. That's where we sell our artwork now. And the specific form of artwork now that I'm making is part of my modern collection that I started about 1.5 years ago as an ode to myself as an artist. I wanted to challenge myself to use the simplest of forms to create beautiful and intricate pieces of wood. So I just use line and circle, and by giving myself those parameters and those boundaries, I've been really able to flourish and create a lot of unique pieces.
So where does the inspiration for those pieces come from? Because you are, like you said, you're using lines and circles, and that's really your basis with the wooden pieces. And so I would think, just as a layman on the outside, not an artist that's an expert in this particular area of art, there's just only so much you can do with lines and circles. So where do these ideas come from?
Yeah, that's so good. What's so great about giving yourself boundaries is that your perspective within those boundaries is infinite. And so I have been able to just really realize that everything that we look around and that we see is really literally formed from the simplest of shapes. And so it's really infinite. So I don't sketch anything out. I create in the moment. And so I have a piece of wood in front of me, and then I have a bunch of strips of wood. And I just go with it. And I kind of let the wood and the design take itself to where it wants to be. I obviously am really also inspired by Art Deco and certain kinds of architecture, Frank Lloyd Wright, Native American design. So there definitely are inspirations that I draw from.
We're joined by Anna Bailey, wood artist at Bailey Builds, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. She's also going to be one of hundreds and hundreds of artists featured on 30 blocks of Ann Arbor this July 21st, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday, July 22nd, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. in Ann Arbor at the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair coming up this summer. And so you've said that you don't consider yourself an artist, you consider yourself to be a creative person making art. Where do you draw that difference between considering yourself an artist and considering yourself a creative person that is using that creativity to make art?
Yeah, I think that creativity exhibits itself in so many different ways. And through the course of my life, like before I started creating artwork, I was a musician. So I was writing music and performing around town. And so that was my creative outlet then. And now I've moved into this new creative outlet of creating art. It was honestly a hard thing to do. And I think a lot of artists hit the point where they're like, especially if they haven't had any formal training, where you do call yourself an artist, you kind of feel like you're a poser. But if there's anybody listening, I would really, really encourage you to own it. I am definitely making a living and providing for, many other people through the selling of this artwork. And so just own who you are and who you're meant to be. And if you're creating artwork, call yourself an artist.
We're joined by Anna Bailey, wood artist at Bailey Builds, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. And again, going back to the lines and the circles that you're using as that basis in the wooden pieces that you're creating, there is so much detail with that, because I would imagine too with manipulating wood into an art piece, you have to be very intricate in your cuts, in the way that you sand, in the way that and in the texture that you use as well, because there are so many different lines and so many different shapes and so many different ways to present those as well. So how long does it take you to create one of these pieces, and just how intricate is that work to get the final pieces like those that are behind you, for those that are watching this on TV or online, to get to that final product with that level of detail?
Yeah, it's such a good question. You know, it's so multifaceted because you have to manipulate the wood to do what you want. And if you guys know wood or have worked with wood, it has a mind of its own. And so you just never know what it's going to do. And so you kind of have to follow its lead. So I've had to learn, and this is an art form I've never seen before. So along with creating the actual artwork, which can take, you know, one of my signature works can take weeks to complete. You know, you also have this whole process up front as to how to manipulate the wood in the first place to get to do what you want it to do on the board. And then there's the process of, once it's put together on the board, the finishing process is a lot of steps. What paints are going to adhere to it correctly? What stain is going to do what? How are we going to get it to last forever for our customers? And so it really can take, like, one of the signature works that I make, which is all pieced together, cut together, sanded. I mean, it can really take weeks until it's actually completed. And a lot of that time, it might just be sitting and curing, because you got to let it do its thing. You don't want to push it along.
And so when you're preparing for an art show like the Ann Arbor or the Ann Arbor Art Fair, and you're bringing all these pieces along, you're trying to create new pieces as well that you can bring and really wow people at these various art shows. And traveling too. That's a lot of time to be creating art and traveling with that art, and especially, as you mentioned, giving that curing process time to manifest itself. So as you're preparing for these art shows, especially in the East and in the Midwest over the summer, where it's peak season for these, how do you then change your process to be able to accommodate both creating these pieces, but also the critical point of selling these pieces at these art shows to people that will really appreciate that art?
Yeah, you know, when we get into art show season, it's just all hands on deck. And so I'm grateful. We actually have a team of people that work together to make it happen. So my husband and I, you know, we support our family of four, and then we have seven full-time employees that help make the social media happen. And so we have social media campaigns going to make sure that we get people to come out and buy artwork from us. We have somebody back in the shop working to get the wood prepped and the pieces prepped so that we can bring them to, you know, we have art shows like every other week in the summer. So it's really been a remarkable journey of growth for our company, because to do what we do in the middle of the art show season takes a lot of people, and we have, I would say, one of the best teams around.
So if I'm hearing that correctly, you're essentially taking your studio on the road with you and creating a makeshift studio in these locations you're going to in order to continue to make this art during the peak season.
No, we aren't actually.
Okay.
So we always come back home.
Okay.
So we travel to like Ann Arbor and then we come back home. It would just be too much work. We have thought about like putting a makeshift studio up in like January in Florida so we can do all of those art shows, but it's honestly a lot of prep work. We have a lot of back stock so that we can just pull from that during our quiet months, January, February, March. So that when it's art show season, we can just go and grab the next round of art to head to the fair.
July 21st through 23rd in Ann Arbor, 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. You can find artists at their Ann Arbor Art Fair, including Anna Bailey from Bailey Builds, a wood artist, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on her art, view all of her pieces, and see where she's going to be in Ann Arbor and beyond at baileybuilds.com. That's baileybuilds.com for more information on Anna and her artwork as well. And so, you mentioned that you're traveling to places such as Ann Arbor for these art shows, and then going back home to continue to create that art in between these art shows that you're doing every other week approximately throughout the summer. So where is home for you, Anna?
Yeah, we live in Duluth, Minnesota. Favorite city in the world on the tip of Lake Superior.
Okay, so right next to us there in Minnesota, a neighbor of us here in Michigan. So then what attracts you to Ann Arbor for that art fair? What about the Ann Arbor community and the patrons of Ann Arbor's art fair keeps you coming back for their art show?
Yeah, well, last year was my first Ann Arbor art fair because of COVID. You know, there was a few years off, and then last year was the first one. We were blown away by how well the fair was run. It was by far the best organized fair we've ever done, which actually says a lot, because some fairs it's really hard. You're like walking 6 blocks to get your artwork in, and Ann Arbor, they had it figured out. We dropped our stuff off and we drove away and we set up. And also the patrons and the community there is really well educated about art. They understand it. They understand what it means to invest in handcrafted and locally made things. And so it really is our group of people at Ann Arbor. They really get what we're trying to do, how we're trying to make homes beautiful and shift culture with the arts community.
And so you mentioned that you came to Ann Arbor last year for the first time. COVID-19 had an impact on your art show schedule in the years before that. So in a blanket statement, how impactful was COVID-19 on your journey as a professional artist, as a creative? Because for so many people, they took that time that they were outside of their regular social lives and certainly their professional lives to take on more hobbies or to invest in their hobbies and their interests, including art. And so for you as a professional artist during that period of time, having that extra focus outside of the regular world or even a distraction, how did that impact your art?
Yeah, well, it required a lot of innovation because how we had run our business previous didn't exist. And so we had to really innovate. And it also, like you said, it gave more time for us, for me to be creative and to spend time creating new things and new designs. And but from a business perspective, we really had to innovate. We had to push our online presence. We had to figure out how to reach more people in the online sphere. And we had to educate them about who we are and to get them to the point where they would want to invest in a piece of our artwork. You know, when you're at an art fair, that's a really easy thing to do, to just connect with your patron and get to know them and tell them your story, and then they walk away with a piece of art. It's a lot harder when you're doing it over the internet.
And Michigan loves its art, Ann Arbor loves its art, and there's going to be so many great opportunities in Ann Arbor this July to meet a number of different artists, see such variety at the Ann Arbor Art Fair, including work from Anna Bailey, who joins us on the Michigan Megacast. Anna, anything else for us today we haven't mentioned that you'd like to say to our audience, especially those that may be attending the Ann Arbor Art Fair in July, before we let you go?
Just thank you for your support. Michigan, forever and ever, we will be back if we keep getting accepted into the Ann Arbor Art Fair, because it's been such a great part of our summer show season. So,
Anna, we thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time. More information on the Ann Arbor Art Fair can be found on theannarborartfair.org. And that show, of course, July 21st through 23rd. It's a Friday through Sunday experience. Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. July 21st through 23rd on 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. The Ann Art Fair, annarborartfair.org. We're going to take a break on Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk to one of 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. That's up next on the Megacast.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Achoo!
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link or by going to mymytv.com, where you'll learn more information about our entire network of stations all across Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan. Joining us now is one of 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform at sharedetroit.org. We're joined by Sandra Mals, the president and founder of the Good Eggs Foundation, joining us on the Megacast. Sandra, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, give us a little bit of background information on the Good Eggs Foundation, its history, and the services it provides.
Sure. So the Good Eggs Foundation, we started it in 2019, and it actually grew out of a set of children's books that I wrote called The Good Eggs. So I wanted to put the books into action. So what we do is the books go on a monthly basis, and I can explain more about that in a little bit. But once a month, I egg an organization or a family that is in need. So an egging is a need fulfilled. And I seek out any organization or family that might have a need at that moment. And I ask them what they need, and they'll tell me, and I'll say, you've been egged. And we help them with either monetary funds or donations. Like, for example, we just provided some baby monitors to a foster closet. It could be any form. We've helped with mittens, backpacks, any kind of thing that might be a need for that month.
So you mentioned the Good Eggs books and that they inspired this organization's founding. Can you tell us about the Good Egg books and what about them goes into what helped you to find this organization?
Sure. So the Good Eggs books, it's a 3-part series, and they came out originally in 2013, and we just went through a relaunch. But the first book teaches about virtues, and it goes in 12 chapters. So the little eggs, they're little kids in elementary school, and they go back to school in September, and each month a virtue is explored. So for example, there's understanding, there's forgiveness, there's generosity and gratitude, there's manners. There's 12 in all, and they get into a little kid situation, something that kids could, relate to, and they learn through that how to grow. They help each other, and we see them figure out relationships with each other and how to get past any issues that may arise. So from that book, I thought I was just going to be done with one book, but once I wrote this book, I just loved the characters and I felt I wasn't done with them. So I took them around the world. So in book one, they won a recycling contest, and the United Nations recognized them for that and sent them on a study abroad program. So they went around the world and they visited 10 countries like Chile and Zambia and Italy and Egypt and Norway and Scotland and India and Japan, all kinds of adventures they have in book two. And they also meet other little eggs around the world and they develop relationships with them. And they end up writing to them once they get back home. And at the end of book two, they learn that, you know, the world is full of good eggs, that we all kind of want the same thing in life. We want to be heard and we want to be loved and we want to be respected and we want to live in peace. And they learn that through their vision around the world. So then book three, they come back from that trip and they stay in their hometown and they learn the importance of community service. So they help children, they help elders, they put on a health program for their town, they go to a nature center, they help a local animal shelter. So they learn all the important aspects of a community, and they also connect it back to book two of the little eggs they met around the world who also incorporate that same service in their own communities. So the idea of virtues, diversity, and service is how I kind of rounded out the program. And those inspired me to actually start the nonprofit so that we can put the books themselves into action, into seeking out people in our own community that might have a need, you know, big or small. Right now we're starting out small, but we hope to make the needs bigger as well.
More information can be found on thegooteggs.org. That's thegooteggs.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org, where you can learn more about the Good Eggs Foundation and 299 other charities and nonprofits in the Metro Detroit area. ShareDetroit.org is the website. And so, Sandra, you mentioned earlier your organization's quote-unquote eggings of different families, different people, different organizations. Some have reached out to you, but generally speaking, how are you finding these people, these individuals, these families that you're ultimately deciding on a monthly basis to egg?
Right. So some do reach out to me, like you said, Tyler, but I also just do a lot of searching. And then I am involved, you know, at school where I teach. I'm a high school teacher. We have a lot of connections to different organizations as well. So I've always had my ears and eyes open for anybody that might have a need or somewhere that we can help. So it could be an internet search. It could be through word of mouth. It could be through someone who knew someone. It could be someone who saw the You've Been Egg plaque and they might call me. It's multiple ways.
What's the reaction like from these people or these organizations that you do deliver that You've Been Egged plaque to? Are they? I would imagine at first they're a little concerned. What do you mean?
Right. They're like, what does that mean?
Eggs here? And then they figure out what happened. What's their reaction from there?
Right. Oh, they're very happy. So I like to ask, you know, if there's anything specific. So I get so much just like specific things, you know, like, oh, yes, we're going to start a math tutoring program. Can you help with that? Yes. You know, or like I said before, we needed these baby monitors, or we need these mittens, or we need, you know, whatever the case. I had a family contact me that said they knew of a family, their son, very unfortunate, had an accidental drowning, and they were very underserved family, and they couldn't afford even funeral costs. So we helped with the food for their funeral reception. So like things like that, people will call me. I had a mom who lost her job, and she had to take away her daughter's dance lessons because she had to cut back. She was the sole breadwinner in her family. And so someone called me for that. And I said, you know, would you mind if I aid you? And we continue her dance lessons. So she was just very happy. And just different things like kids to play sports, you know, we'll help them do that. Programs that might go on. We started a little library at the Pope Francis Center for kids that are seeking transition with homelessness there. So whatever the need is, everyone's very grateful. I just spoke to a man who builds beds for kids that are coming out of the foster care program or out of homelessness. So we're going to provide a lot of bedding for them as well. So, it's all different. And that's what I like too, is that it's a different need every time. And it just puts a smile on people's faces. It might be something little, but it makes a big difference.
So what goes into an egging? Is it? I would imagine each time it's different.
It is.
And as you said, it's always tailored to that person or that group's needs. So what's the extent? Can you give us an example of a recent egging that you committed?
Sure. So the recent one I just did was with the baby monitors, like I had mentioned before. So they said this was a foster closet. They were really in need of them. So I searched a few out, and I sent the head of the foster closet a couple different models, and he picked one that he wanted. And I ended up ordering those for him and had them shipped right to his organization. And then I went there and I brought him actually a set of books. And I also brought, I usually give a little plaque that says you've been egged. So, and he gave me a nice tour of the facility. So usually that's what ends up happening. That's what's going to be happening with the man who builds beds. I just went shopping yesterday for all of his bedding, and I'm going to bring that all to him in July. He's going to be our July egging, and he wants to give me a tour of his facility where he builds the beds. So, it just depends what the need is. I did one for the Children's Center in Detroit at Christmas, and we set up an Amazon wish list for them. So in that case, we had people go on the Amazon wish list, and everything shipped right to them. So that was another way of egging an organization.
So if people or organizations would like to help out and they would like to sponsor an egging or just participate with you in egging a person or egging an organization, how can they go about doing that?
Well, they can go onto our website, thegooteggs.org, and there's a contact form, and they can fill that out. So if they have an idea for an egging, please fill that out, and the email will go directly to me. And, we will be in contact and try to figure out what we can do. Or if they want to just make a donation, that goes right to the Good Eggs Foundation, which helps us to enable more eggings. Or the other thing is, there's also a books tab on our website. All book purchases go right to the Good Eggs Foundation. So that also is a big part of how we get funds. So if people want to look at the books, get them for their children, I've had teachers buy them for their classrooms. Go right ahead. There's lesson plans, there's videos. I have a children's podcast as well. And I'm going to be starting a parent blog in September so that parents, grandparents, teachers, anybody in the life of a child can journey through the books with the children on an adult level as well.
More information can be found on thegooteggs.org. That's thegooteggs.org. You can contact with them, thegooteggs.org/contact. And then, of course, as Sandra had mentioned, every book sale is then a donation to the foundation, thegooteggs.org/books. You can also find more information on the Good Eggs, including many different ways to help, by visiting sharedetroit.org. And so, Sandra, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. At this moment in time, what are some of the most critical ways that people out in the community can help? They'd like to help you and your organization commit more eggings in the future and help a lot of people out.
Sure. Well, like I just mentioned, monetary donations are a great way because that goes right into our foundation, and that enables us to egg other people. Or if they have an idea for an egging, feel free to fill out that contact form, and I will get that directly. Also, I would like to thank Share Detroit. As you mentioned earlier on sharedetroit.org, they set up this interview, and we are part of Share Detroit. So if they went on Share Detroit and looked up the Good Eggs Foundation, they could see we have some volunteer opportunities, maybe some marketing or some social media help would also be another way that they could help. Also, Share Detroit has a great event coming up on Saturday at Jimmy John's Field in Utica, and $40 gets you a baseball ticket, food, a drink, many other goodies, and $10 of that ticket goes to your choice of charity through Share Detroit. So that's another way.
Yeah, so in baseball terms, the Good Eggs Foundation wants to get beaned at this game.
Yes.
Take the $10 theoretical baseball and throw it toward the Good Eggs. So,
yes.
Anything else for us before we let you go today?
No, I would just encourage people to visit our website, thegooteggs.org. And again, there's, people want to start book clubs, which we have had teachers and even parents, homeschoolers start book clubs. There's book club questions and lesson plans. And again, accompanying videos. You can listen to the podcast on 9 platforms. And again, sign up for that parent blog because it's going to start in September and you'll get notified every time there's a post. So again, thank you so much for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. Thank you very much, Sandra.
Thank you so much.
More information can be found on thegooteggs.org. That's thegooteggs.org. Go ahead and head over there for more information on how you can help Sandra and her team at the Good Eggs Foundation commit more egging. It's the only kind of egging that is legal and you want to participate in. So go ahead and do it at sharedetroit.org as well. That is going to do it for this Thursday edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on this edition of the program. If you missed the program or you're just tuning in now live, fear not, we're always on demand on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. You'll find today's episode on there sometime mid to late afternoon today. And you can also go back and watch all of our past episodes dating all the way back to March of 2020. I wouldn't suggest going back that far. That was a difficult time. I'd stay closer to now and stay up to date on what's going on in your community in Oakland County on the Oakland County Megacast, live from 10 a.m. until 11 o'clock. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then the Michigan Megacast from 11 o'clock to noon every single day. Monday through Friday as well. Big thank you to our crew that makes this program possible every single day. Our technical director, Calvin Brown, with me for the full 2-hour marathon in our studio. Our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, at the office of My Michigan TV, and Larry Nyland, the king of television himself, as we call him, our producer, booking all of our guests, helping both them and us get ready for informative conversations on a number of different topics and subject matter every single day. Big thank you to Larry, who's also out at Master Control, helping us on and off the air today, as he has all week long. On My Michigan TV, coming up next, it's Steve Lado live from noon to 1, followed by Larry and Ronnie live from 1 to 2. We'll return on Friday with a brand new edition of both the Oakland County and the Michigan Megacasts.